Welcome to Manifest Daily, the podcast where we embrace the messy, beautiful journey of self-discovery and constant evolution. I'm DeAndre Nicolette, podcaster, dreamer, and your partner in navigating life's transitions. Together, we'll explore personal growth, creative reinvention, astrology, and navigating life's unknowns. This is your space to evolve boldly, embrace change, and manifest a life that feels true to you. Let's dive in, my loves. It's time to create the next chapter together. Good morning, my loves, and welcome to the month of May. I'm so excited to be here chatting with you guys. When I tell you life has been so weird lately, I think I'm struggling a little bit with getting used to it because you guys know that so much has changed in the last couple of months of my life, and I've recently started therapy again, which I have been loving. And in therapy, I have been forced, against my will, I've been forced to truly acknowledge, I guess, how much of my life has been uprooted, how much of my stability has been questioned, and how much I'm really being forced to sort of adapt to all of this change. And I think when you take apart everything that's happened. And I mean, I know there's like crazier things that have happened, but when you take it all apart, I think every single piece of the story or every single piece of the situation is a incredibly stress-inducing event on its own. But when you put it all together, it's sort of wild that it's all sort of happened kind of all at the same time. And it's my birth month. My birthday is in less than a week now. Or actually, no, I can't do math. My birthday is in a little over a week now. And I'm super excited. But I think my birthday month always sort of brings up these like interesting, confusing, complex sort of feelings and emotions. And I have therapy today. So I'm very, very, very excited to sort of chat through all of this in therapy. My girl is definitely like earning her money. Okay. She is earning her keep with our sessions. I feel like every single time I go into a session, I have something to talk about, and then we always run out of time. And I think that's such a mark of a good therapist. Finding a good therapist, y'all, like it is not easy all the time. Okay, some of y'all might have like lucked out and like found a good therapist who's like matches you, who's like good for you, who's a great fit on the first try. For me, I know it took me a couple of tries because I was finding people that were really good at sort of like touching the surface of what I wanted to work on or what I needed to talk about. And I think when you're someone who is self-aware, who journals, who kind of like knows that you have certain traumas that you want to work through, but you're sort of stuck at the juncture of like, okay, how do I overcome this? How do I go deeper with this? You need a therapist who can go deeper with you. You need someone who maybe has more years of experience or who has more tools and resources in their pocket to help you. You don't really want to work with someone who's kind of just more like a general therapist. I don't even think that's like the word. But this time around, I ended up working with a psychologist, so someone who has a PhD and really just does amazing work when it comes to relationships. That's kind of her key focus. So not just like, romantic relationships. She does work with couples, but she does a lot of work with like your relationship to yourself, but also your relationships with your caregivers and how that's affected you growing up, right? And so I literally remember our first session, she asked me to tell her about age 8 and prior, and that sort of unlocked a can of worms that we have truly been sifting through for the last couple of sessions. And I feel like I've had significant sort of realizations and breakthroughs, if you will. And we've only had a couple of sessions, so I'm really excited to be working with her. But that being said, it's been a whirlwind, and I feel like I've had so many different like mixed feelings about literally everything in my life. And I'm like, is this a midlife crisis? Like, I'm definitely not like midlife, but is this what the girlies be talking about when they say midlife crisis? Because girl, and it's not that I've been unwell. The craziest part about it is I am in such a good place. Like I'm in a place where I feel like I'm really thriving in so many different ways, but I think because of that, it's also making me sort of question some of the things that are not necessarily thriving, but some of the things that I'm just sort of like, okay, do I still want to do this? Do I want to add this in? How do I feel about this? I'm being so vague, but midlife crisis of it all. Anyways, I want to talk about healing today. And I want to talk about performance because I was having a conversation with my friend about this, and this has been something that's been coming up in sort of like my thoughts, my mind, as I think about the different facets of my life and where I have to perform a little bit more. And one of the places I was thinking about was like work, right? Because we know we all like perform at work. And it's a thing, if you're in corporate America, you have to sort of put on a certain mask, put on a certain literal physical dress, but you're kind of performing when you go out into the world. But then it made me start to question like the levels of performance in life outside of an area like work and how that sort of affects your healing. And what I arrived at when I was sitting with it and when I was thinking about it is that you can't heal if you're still performing. And I think we live in this world that demands performance day in and day out, like I said, right? We're conditioned to put these masks on. We're conditioned to smile when we're breaking down inside, to show up, to stay calm when our anxiety is piqued by these overstimulating environments, whether they be online, in person, whatever. And we're conditioned to act like we've got it all together, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. And I know I've talked about my struggles with things falling apart on the show before, but I do think that even in those moments, there has been sort of this hesitancy or this fear or this sort of, oh my God, am I going to be judged? Because I almost feel like there's a limit to how much I can talk about my life being in shambles. And I'm like, damn, if I get to like number 99, they're going to be like, girl, we over you. Get it together. We are over you. We are done. Your life is always in shambles. But the truth is that if you're performing for the world, if you are playing the role of someone who has it all figured out, you're keeping yourself locked in like a prison of your own making. And you're never going to heal inside that prison. And of course, when I talk about healing here in this episode, I want to just also mention that we know that healing is ongoing. You're not going to get to a place where you're like, okay, that's it. I'm 100% healed. Where's my medal? Where's my perfect relationship? It's so interesting because I also think that there's so many things that we heal and we get to a certain point where we feel like, okay, I do have a grasp on this, but we need to experience certain scenarios in order to be pushed to that next level of healing, to unlock a new level of challenges, a new level of, oh my God, this thing is kind of pushing me to learn something new about myself or to learn something new about how I show up in the world, how I show up in relationships. And I want to break this down for you. Let's talk about the performance, okay? When I say that you're performing, I mean this as showing the world a version of yourself that's like not actually real, okay? This is the version of you that says, I'm fine when people ask you how you are, despite the fact that you were everything but. This is the version of you that posts the curated photos, the curated videos on social media in an effort to convince the world that you have your shit together. This is the version of you that says yes to everyone else's demands when you know that you do not have the energy, babes. You are draining yourself. Your cup been empty. Your cup dry as hell. You ain't got nothing in that cup, girl, but 2 pennies, and you trying to give it away. Why? Why are you doing that? And I know that like I said earlier in this episode, that performance is needed on some level, or not even needed, but required of us on some level in the world. You can't show up at work and just trauma dump to your boss. You know what I mean? A stranger on the street asks you how you are. You're going to say, I'm fine. Like, you're not going to be like, girl, let me tell you I'm going through it. Because they're going to be like, nah, I ain't asked for all that. Now, let me just say this, though. I have been in situations where I've met strangers and they have definitely opened up, and I've had the capacity to hold that space. And I don't judge it because I know what it's like to be holding it all in and to feel like you're going to literally burst. And when someone asks you, how are you? And you're at the end of that rope and you're just like, I have to open up. I got to tell somebody, girl. I got to tell somebody. I know what that's like. Okay. So I do think that there is a level of performance that we do tap into to quote unquote remain professional, or to kind of just show up in the world and not be labeled as like insane. You know what I mean? But I also think that, it's sort of like figuring out what is that line, how much performance do you really need in your life, and how much is sort of overperforming for yourself, because you think that you're fooling people, you think that you're fooling everyone, but in reality you're only fooling yourself. Okay, when you become really good at wearing a mask through every single second, minute, hour of your day, you get to a point where you forget who you really are beneath that mask. And the brutal truth of that is that this performance, the reason why you're performing, it's because you're afraid. Y'all know when you have those days where everything just feels so difficult and you can't figure out what is going on? I have absolutely been there. In fact, y'all know, or maybe you don't know, but I feel like I've been there more in the recent months, and I absolutely understand how frustrating that can be. Recently, I've learned that sometimes it's not just stress or lack of sleep that's affecting you, but it could actually be your hormones that are at play. That's where Happy Mammoth comes in. They offer a free 2-minute quiz that can help you uncover the root cause of your hormonal symptoms. It's super easy. You literally answer a few questions about what you're going through and where you're at in life. And the best part is that after you take the quiz, you get this personalized recommendation to help you figure out how you can balance your hormones and start feeling better. So I took the quiz recently and it gave me some personalized insights into what might be happening with my body and my hormones. And Happy Mammoth actually recommended a product that can help me with some of the things that I'm struggling with. One of the recommendations that I got was to start taking Hormone Happy, which helps with bloating, chronic fatigue, weight gain, mood swings, and more. So Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means that they're using science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromises when it comes to quality, and it shows. They offer a range of products that are designed to help you feel like yourself again, and with personalized recommendations from the quiz, you know exactly where you need to start. If you're ready to start feeling like yourself again, head over to happymammoth.com and take their free 2-minute hormone quiz today to find the ultimate answer to your stubborn hormonal issues. And for a limited time, you can also get 15% off your entire first order with my code ManifestDaily at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code ManifestDaily for 15% off today. You're afraid of what people will think if they get to know the real you. You're afraid of the judgment. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of the thought that maybe if they really know who you are, you won't be good enough. That's what it is. It's driven by fear, as so many things are in life. But as I said earlier, you can't heal in this level of performance. Healing, unfortunately, doesn't happen when you're hiding from your wounds. You have to be willing to face the things that cause you pain in order to overcome them. It's like that saying, you have to go through, you can't go around. You can't circumvent the circumstances. I don't even know if that makes sense. I think it does of your life. You have to face that pain. Okay. Healing also doesn't happen when you're pretending to be someone that you're not, because how the hell can you heal from your traumas if you're pretending you don't even have those traumas in the first place. Healing happens when you can show up and face yourself and face the world as your raw, authentic self. This is the messy, this is the imperfect, this is the vulnerable. This is a very hard word to say, vulnerable version of yourself, because healing isn't pretty all the time. I mean, sometimes it can be, I guess. Sometimes you can make it aesthetic. I don't know. You know, you're going to therapy, and I don't know, girl. You can make it aesthetic sometimes, but it's not always pretty. Okay, it's not always linear either. It's not always curated. Sometimes you take 5 steps, quote unquote, forward. You feel like you're making progress. You feel like, wow, I've had a breakthrough, and then all of a sudden, you know, it feels like you've stumbled back into a really dark place that you thought you'd never be before. And perhaps that stumbling backwards is not necessarily you know, moving backwards or falling backwards on your journey, but it's more so that you can go back to that place to discover something that you didn't know before. Perhaps it's to go back to that place so that it can show you just how much you have healed. It can show you just how much you've overcome a certain circumstance, a certain mindset. You know, healing is not for an audience. It's for you. It's only for you. And you have to be willing to sit with your pain, face your fears, and let the walls that you've built up between that version of yourself that's not real, that version of yourself that was never you, and the version of yourself that is you, that wall that's between them, you have to let it crumble. The moment you start to be real with yourself, real with the world, that's the moment. That's like the true moment that your healing can actually begin. Because when you're constantly pretending, like I said, there's a wall that gets built up between who you truly are and who you think the world wants you to be. And the world, society, social media, your parents, your job, your friends, your partner, they will want you to be a lot of different things. And sometimes, yeah, you can show up as that person. Sometimes who they want you to be and who you are, it aligns. But there are other moments when it doesn't align. There are other moments when who people want you to be, who they demand you to be in order to show that you are enough for them, it doesn't align with who you truly are. And if you continue to build up that wall and make it thick, you start to lose touch with your feelings. You start to ignore your own needs. You start to deny your worth. You start to deny your truth. You're running on empty and you're burning out. You're lying to yourself. And the longer that you keep up that facade, the longer that you put on that performance, the harder it does become to reconnect with your true self. It's like suffocating under the weight of that mask. You were never meant to wear that mask for so long. Yes, maybe it served as protection at some point in time, and you know, it served to help you get through certain scenarios. It served to help you show up in a certain way for a situation that you needed to show up in that way for, but it was never meant to be worn forever, because it's not you. But I think what we need to focus on is that shift of how we go from, okay, performance and being someone else to leaning into our authentic selves, which I feel like can be difficult sometimes, because showing up as yourself in any given way, shape, and form is an act of defiance in this society, in my opinion. Showing up as yourself is so vulnerable, because if someone doesn't like you, if someone says you're not good enough, if someone says this isn't right, you're not this, you're not that, then you can take that personally, because you're like, damn, not me showing up as myself, and like they're telling me I'm not enough. But I also think when you show up as yourself, you have to know that not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone is going to align with you. Not everything is going to be for you. And that's the beauty of showing up as yourself, because you almost start to create this shield, if you will, around yourself, this energetic shield where you're repelling all that was never for you, and you are attracting all that is. If the shield, if the mask you wear is the shield, if you're showing up as someone that's not you, you call in things, yes, and you repel things, yes, but those things aren't aligned with your true self. It's only in showing up as ourselves that we repel and attract what's aligned for us. And it's only in doing that that we assist our healing journey. You have to take the mask off. You have to know that you are enough just as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. No one is watching your every move, my love. I know it be feeling like that sometimes. Like people is really clocking you left and right, and you like, damn, I can't do nothing without these haters watching. And they's haters for a reason, because if they watching you like that, they is a hater. And like at that point, babes, like go do something with your life. If someone is watching you to that level, to that degree, clocking everything you do, judging everything you do, babes, they ain't got nothing going on. You are their reality TV. And at that point, I really do need them to find something to do. But most people aren't watching you like that, okay? They're busy watching their own moves. They're busy living their own lives. And so you're here to live for yourself. You're here to figure out, what do I need to do to show up for me? What do I need to do to assist my healing journey? Because as soon as you stop running from your emotions and you start allowing yourself to grieve, to feel the anger, to feel the joy, to feel the confusion, to feel the lack of clarity, that's the moment where the healing can begin. That's the moment where you can actually say, wow, I didn't know I needed this, or wow, I didn't know this was coming up for me. I think that's such a vulnerable place to be. So yeah, that's what I got for y'all today. Okay. You cannot heal if you're still performing. You can't heal in a space where you're pretending to be someone that you're not. Real healing requires that you show up for yourself. And in order for you to show up for yourself, you have to drop that mask. You have to face your truth. It's going to be difficult at times. It may not be pretty at times. It might be something where it brings up the most heinous, painful emotions for you. But that is part of the process. That is part of the process. You cannot pick and choose what you want to feel. You cannot pick and choose, the parts of healing that you wish to encounter, and the parts that you're like, actually, no, that seems a little bit too painful. I'm going to avoid that. You can't do that. So it's time to stop performing for the world. It's time to stop performing for yourself. It's time to lean into that journey for healing. My loves, I really hope this resonated. Again, this is a conversation I've been thinking about, or not a conversation, a topic that I've been thinking about. And yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about for myself in terms of like, how am I showing up and performing? And what does it mean to put that mask down? What does that look like for me? I've been doing a lot of thinking about the past as well. And I think I saw this quote one time where someone said, the feeling of nostalgia is a blessing, because it tells you that at one point in time, you were living a really beautiful life, or it tells you that there's something beautiful that you're like looking back on, and not everyone has those moments. And I've been feeling a lot of nostalgia because I went through my phone the other day, through my pictures, and I was just like, oh my God, I was looking at when I first moved to Dallas, and I was looking at pictures of my first apartment, and when I got my first SUV, and when I hit 1 million downloads on the show, and all of these monumental moments. And for some reason, it had me questioning, who have I become since then? Have I healed? Have I grown? In what ways? What are the things that I have done to facilitate that growth and that healing? Or where are the ways that I'm still shrinking? Where are the ways that I'm still, dimming my light? Or what are the ways that I'm still dimming my light? What are the ways that I'm still not showing up for the most authentic version of myself? And how do I peel back those layers, peel back that mask more and more? Because I think for some people, maybe this is an overnight thing, but I think for others of us, the layers of mask that we build up are multi-layered. Wow, that not me saying the layers are multi-layered. Okay, you guys get it. The mask is multi-layered, okay? It's early in the morning. I just woke up. So the mask is multi-layered, and I think those layers are built through years of conditioning, years of people telling you who you should be. And so it would make sense that removing the mask is a maybe multi-year process, maybe multi-month. It's a layered process. It's one where you remove a layer, you feel like, okay, I'm a little bit more free, and then you have to continue removing layers. And I think ending the performance, removing the mask, is healing in and of itself. That's the other thing. I think this entire episode I've talked about how you can't heal if you're still performing, but I also think the process of healing can be the process of removing the mask, of understanding what the performance is. I say performing and I describe performance, but maybe performance shows up for you in a different way in your relationships, in your life, at your work, in your personal life with yourself. And you have to determine what that performance looks like, and you have to determine what your mask is, and you have to determine what those layers are, and you have to determine what it looks like to remove the layers of that mask. That is part of your healing. That is part of the process. But my loves, I look forward to chatting with you very soon. Very soon. Have a beautiful day, my loves. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a 5-star review. And yeah, chat with you in the next episode, my loves. Have a good day. Bye-bye.